Welcome to the Journee Continues Podcast. Real voices, real recovery. Today we have Erica on, who's going to share with us her hopes, her strengths, where she come from, and where she's at today. So, Erica, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an honor to be on here.
Who is Erica?
Who is Erica? Okay. Well, I grew up pretty what the world would call normal. Two-parent household, just a happy childhood. I do want to add that, right? And I think I actually had probably more, what's the word that I'm looking for? More opportunities than most, right? And here I sit with 7 years clean from drugs and alcohol. And a lot of people are like, how? Like, okay, so you just said two-parent household. You just said you had all these opportunities, right? How did you get here? And that's what I think I would like to emphasize more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, before you start, Erica, what type of substance were you addicted to?
Crack, heroin, and alcohol. And also, pills. And I'm going to tell you, crack and heroin were the dominant, but it was whatever was available, right? So my addiction ran deep to whatever. And, a big part of that was because around adolescence, I started developing different signs of depression, anxiety, right? And again, I came from this household. I knew in my heart, like, you're around all these people that have all of these issues. Why are you feeling this way? So I didn't know how to tell people I'm hurting inside. Mm-hmm. So I started lashing out, right? I started lashing out. And I started by smoking weed. That was when you were in school, those of us that know, right? Those adolescent years, you don't fit in anywhere. But there's a group that anybody fits in.
Yeah.
And I found that group, and I thought I found my people. I thought I found love. And they introduced me to the marijuana, and it did help. It helped. At the time, it helped to soothe that pain that I was feeling that I felt I couldn't express to anybody. And that led to low grades, which led to problems at home. Mm-hmm. Now I'm dealing with problems at home. So, my next step was to start running away.
So, question for you. Mm-hmm. I know you said that you were smoking marijuana. And was this in high school, middle school?
So this was late middle school going into high school.
Now, as that occurred, did you see a difference in the relationship between you and your parents before you started using marijuana and afterwards? Like, could you see a difference?
Yes, the relationship before was very it was calm, but my parents had adult issues they were going through, and that's what it was. They were dealing with their own issues, not that it was affecting me, but it was because I felt like, how do you go to mom and tell her you're not feeling good when she's trying to figure out how to pay these bills, and dad's dealing with his own issues? So now again, I could have went to them, but as a kid, when you hear parents complaining and you see a lot of, grief on their faces, you don't feel comfortable with coming to saying, I don't feel good and I don't know why, right? Because you feel like you're going to be dismissed. Now, after I started smoking, thinking that was helping, then I saw the energy change. They were very angry with me all the time, very disappointed. Saw a lot of disappointment.
Okay.
And that just caused them to, punish.
Right.
Right, instead of understanding.
Go ahead. So fast forward, how did you get involved with heroin? Was it heroin first or crack first? Which one was first? What came first?
So, as well as being a recovering addict, I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. So, and again, that was part of the running away. You're told, be careful, you're going to run into something, you're not ready for. And that's what I did. And, that's where I was introduced to both substances, cocaine first, and then the heroin very lightly, right? Just to kind of lower my inhibitions, right? And it helped. It helped with dealing with the pains of things that I wasn't at 14, 15. My body wasn't ready to deal with. So it helped, right? And that's where that started. That's where the initial introduction to that drug started.
So let me stop you for just a second, because we hear this a lot about human trafficking. This is a huge topic amongst the community. How old were you?
Initially about 14 and a half.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's when the hard drug use started.
That's where it was introduced. Yes.
It was introduced.
I don't want to say started like it was a regular, I wasn't totally strung out, right? But yes, that's where I was introduced to it.
Okay. I want to stay on the human trafficking because you need to tell the audience how you got out.
Okay.
But I want you to dive into how the substances destroyed your life.
Okay. So I want to start off like this because when I say human or sex trafficking, people think of movies like Taken, right?
No.
There are
Thank you for clearing up.
I want to be so specific that there are so many different levels. Okay. And the level that I was on was, I was not chained. Okay. But I was metaphorically chained, that when the drugs are introduced, it can have you in those invisible chains, right? Where, yes, I could have left at any time. I could have did something different. However,
you were still a child. So don't forget, you were still 14. You was 14 years old. So let's don't minimize that.
What happened, because it was between 14 and 16.
Okay.
What got me away is that he got me pregnant. So that, and I instantly learned different skills, manipulation skills. And early on, I already saw that I was different than others. And he viewed me different, so I used that, right? And I'm not going to say he fell in love with me, but he caught different feelings. And now I'm pregnant with his child. So the ideal was just, be done with her, just push me away, go ahead and have the kid. So now I'm going to my parents, pregnant, right? And that right there, I was forced to have my son, even though I went to the clinic, everything trying to get, but God had so many other plans for me, because every time I went, there was always an issue. And then look up, when it was finally time to try to go do it, I was too far along.
Now, when you say try to do it,
the abortion, I know it's hard for me to.
I understand, but you know what? You're going to help somebody today.
Absolutely, but that's what it was, and I'm not going. I definitely, it was my choice, but how I was raised, that was not something that was done. However, because of the situation, I felt it was needed. But again, God saw different.
That's right.
So, but I know that now. At the time, I didn't know that. And here my son is born. Most of the times when babies are born, they look like nobody. They look like aliens. He looked just like his father from day one. I had no connection with him. And a lot of people think it's automatic that you have this maternal connection. No, I knew that he needed to be fed. He needed to be changed. I took care of him, but I didn't have that, this is my baby. It was just something to do that had to be done. Right. And thank God I had my parents, even though they were, because of the situation, everything got thrown all at once. Right. It was like they didn't know about 90% of what I had been through, because I came from parents where it's like, we just go figure this out. your fast bus shouldn't have been out there in the first place.
Right.
You know, that's old school parenting. So it was, you know, you're going to have this child, you're going to raise him, but nobody ever thought, let's get her this help that she needs for the trauma, because there wasn't any identified trauma at the time.
So, question for you. So, after your son is born, how old is your son today?
26.
26. Wow, God bless his soul.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord. So once you had him, did you disclose to your parents what happened to you when it comes to the human trafficking? How was that conversation? Have you?
No,
Okay.
in the present day. But the reason why I didn't was because now let's dive into the mind of, at this point, it's a 17-year-old who now I felt so how I channeled my anger was through, you know, like I had power because now I know the game. Right? I was a hard worker. I knew how to get a job. I went and got my GED. I got a job, but I also had a hustle on the side to get money to do what I'm going to do. Why am I going to tell anybody about my trauma? Then at that point, now they're going to want to give me help. I don't want help. My help was my drugs. I had enough money to take care of me and my son. And then I did my side hustle for my drugs. So I had, 17-year-old, I had a plan.
How did it spiral out of control? Because if that was working, I'm pretty sure you'll still be in the game. I'm just saying.
Oh, man.
What happened?
So, how did it spiral out of control? Well, it took a while. I say it took a while, but really it immediately spiraled out of control. I just always had either the money or the enablers around me, right, to really help me feel like I was still in control. Because this is the thing. It's not a problem until it's a problem. And I'm going to say this, and people laugh when I say this, but I have to tell my truth. When people tell me I had a problem or call me a crackhead, I'm like, okay, no, I'm not a crackhead. I just smoke crack. I literally didn't understand, because I viewed a crackhead as somebody begging on the corner, but I had a house. I had a car. I had a job that I went to. So how could you say that? So I didn't identify I had a problem, so there was no problem. And that went on for years. I mean, we don't have time for the full story. You have to get the book when it comes out. But, eventually, because my son's father went to prison in 1999, the year he was born, not for me, it was for two Caucasian girls that were on the case. The African-American girls, we weren't put on the case. That's a different story. However, he went to prison in 2004, which was like 4 years later. He was governing a farm from prison and convinced me to move there, right? So now I'm on a 148-acre farm with my son. Nobody knows where I am because, again, I just left. And there was so much that went on, and there was a lot of money made on the farm. So, again, let
me back you up so the audience can understand. When you say farm, he was running a farm. Explain to us what a farm is. I know what you're talking about.
No, so it was a literal farm.
Okay.
Because he was in, and I won't disclose too much, but he was in a rural area. He was in prison in Michigan in a rural area. And one of the corrections officers he got with and manipulated, and she literally had a 140-acre farm, and she signed over half the farm to him, and he opened it up to pretty much, because he has a lot of children, same situation, and his mind was he was going to bring all of the mothers of his children in one place, and we were going to live together and tend to the farm. So there were a lot of different things. Again, I can't go into too much detail.
It's okay.
But
so at this farm, I'm gonna go around it.
Go
at this farm, what did y'all do on this farm? Was it you, or it was the other baby mother?
I was the only one that
took bait.
Took that bait.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what happened? Okay, I hear that. So how did you find out you know what, this ain't working for me. I have a problem. Something ain't right. Because you had your son with you, right?
Yeah. So it was it was a all white small town.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked up the census for African American, it was literally like 2.5. Me, my son, and a mixed child.
Mm-hmm.
And my son, he was 5, so he started growing up. And African American boys in a town like that, when they're little, it's different. But when they start growing up, they're seen as black men,
Yeah.
And so he started being treated different. However, because he was so close with being protective, he hid some things, that he was experiencing. And we were there for about 3 years. And finally, we went through a lot of having to go visit his father. He got 8 visits a month. We were required to go and stay the whole time. And there were some things like if I didn't do some things that I was supposed to, him and I were separated on the farm. It got real bad. And he never showed emotion until one day he came to me and he's like, my dad's gonna kill us. And he was so, and the school had caught his head that he was starting to give things away and everything. And I know the signs, right? So I was like, okay. What his father made the mistake of was letting me work. Okay, because we did kind of need some more money. So I was able to work at a factory local, and I was commanded to not talk to anybody, and I stood true to that. And one day it was this lady, we were on smoke break, and she came up to me. She said, "Are you racist?" I was like, "No." She was like, "Why don't you ever talk to anybody?" And the Lord, the Lord just was like, "Tell her everything." And I told her everything. She was like, "You and your son are leaving today. Like, I'm coming to get you. Take whatever, you can carry." And she picked us up and moved us with her. And what was crazy about that was he kept through, one thing people don't know, people in prison, they have way more connections than some of us have being on the outside. And it was constantly people like finding where we were. And I was scared that they were going to hurt her. So we moved back, which that was horrible. Like my son started being treated very meanly, So eventually I got the courage to call a shelter. And they helped us. Shelters out there are not like here. It's not like a building. It's people that open up their homes to you.
Mm.
And the last home that I was at was the Van Alstines. My name is Erica Van Alstine, right? You always fall in love with your protector. Her son, um, my son just felt protected around him. And I instantly, in my mind, went into survival mode. As a woman, when we get into survival mode, sometimes we become extremely manipulative. And I literally manipulated him into falling for me. And what's crazy is that I convinced him, like, I need to change my last name. I have insurance. You need dental work. Like, come on, let's get married and just, right? Well, we got married. I changed my last name, and we literally were together in a biblical sense. A couple of times I got pregnant, and I was going to have an abortion. He was like, "No, you've been through enough." Like, he didn't want kids, but he's like, "No, I'll help you take care." And I had my daughter, and he actually convinced me to reach out to my parents. So that's what brought me back to Detroit, where new start with old ways.
Mm-hmm.
Even though both my children, I will say, I did deliver both of them with no hard drugs.
Okay.
Okay, so I will say that. However, as soon as I had them, it was back to business as usual.
Okay.
And I came back to Detroit, and yeah, now I have to help with my parents again, the enablers, right? I mean, and I don't say that in a bad way. They did the best they could with what they had. They wanted to protect their grandchildren,
Right.
and I immediately got a job as usual, and again, I had my skill set for the other, And that's how I viewed it as, I learned at an early age. One of the first skills I learned was how to sell my body.
What was the breaking point? What was the breaking point where you was like, I can't do this no more. I need to go into treatment. And that's when life started for you.
I got a really good job at a federal halfway house, literally program manager. And I was smoking crack in my office. Like it was, because you got to understand, federal halfway house, all men, most of them were either ex-drug dealers, current drug dealers that just wanted to get their paper signed for probation.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally, drugs became very plentiful for me where I didn't even have to prostitute for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to sign my signature. And again, God has always been with me.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I go too far, not to hurt myself, but it's almost like when it starts to pour off into hurting others,
Mm-hmm.
something happens because I didn't get caught. I was actually at the height of my career.
Mm-hmm.
Had everybody fooled, right? 36th district, people were fooled.
Mm-hmm.
Thing was, one day I just woke up and I said, I'm not going. High salary job. And I said, I'm done. And I quit. And my mom was like, oh, I'm done. Get out. Get clean, get high, whatever, leave your kids here, but you getting out. First time I ever had been officially put out, right? And I moved in with my boyfriend at the time who was a dope dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved into a trap house. And then that's when I became street level. That's when I realized that, the crackhead statement, right? That's when it became real. And I started doing things that I said I would never do, right? Because I don't have any money.
Right.
But I'm thinking in my head, I have this skill set. Well, I learned that when that's all you have to rely on,
mm-hmm.
you see, that's hard work
Mm-hmm.
on the body, mind, soul, spirit, everything, right? And it started to affect me and I became street level. That was around 2015. And I made the decision to go into treatment. I called the Access Hotline.
Mm-hmm. Is this now Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network?
Absolutely.
And they were called, because I'm not from here, I'm from Philly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 2015, it was called. So, tell them what it was called.
I have no idea.
It was Access, but I know it's called.
It was the number to call.
For
and
people
I think a lot of people, even present day, you could ask them, they will not know who runs that line or anything, because when you are in search, it doesn't matter.
Right.
When you are given a number and you call and you see they go help, it doesn't matter what they're called.
Okay.
And now I'm telling to this day, I don't know what they were called.
Okay.
I just knew it was a number that I was given to call. And I was given the number by, I believe, I dialed 211 or something. I dialed
211,
and then they gave me the number.
Oh, wow.
And I called and I went into treatment. And I would love to say that was the end of my using. Right? I went to treatment. I did treatment.
How long was you in treatment for? So you went in 2015.
Days.
You went 21 days.
That's all they would give me.
Okay, so they still because I heard back in the day they was given a year, then it went down to 6 months, but it was still in 2015 it was still 21 days because now it's 29 days. Okay, sounds good. So what does at 2015 what does treatment look like? What was you doing in treatment? Was you just BSing? I mean,
half and half.
Okay.
I was hustling because, I knew the game. And I see when I went in there, the culture. I mean, and I'm not discouraging anybody to go to treatment because you make it's what you make of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went in there, I saw a culture that I was used to and I monopolized off of it because even though I wasn't looking for dope anymore, I still needed money for coffee, cigarettes, right? I even hustled for a couple good bras, because it's like I seen some girls in there that had things and it's like, I want that. So I did what I did. But in between, what I will say, there were people that came in to speak with us that planted seeds. Even though I wasn't fully engaged at the time, I know they planted seeds. And that's something because I chose to not get an extension. I could have got an extension. Let's be for real.
When did a light bulb go off in your head and say, "You, this ain't my life"?
Okay, so when I got out of treatment finally, and I went back, and then I went back out. I did finally eventually go to Team Wellness. Once I got tired, and I got on the Suboxone program there, and then I met my recovery coach George, who he already had been dealing with me, right? And I'll never forget, I was sitting in Team Wellness waiting on my script, and I'm just so proud of myself. I see him. I said, "Hey, George." She said, "What you doing here?" I said, "I'm clean." He said, "Really? What you doing?" I said, "Waiting on my script." He said, "Girl, you ain't clean." He said, "Come on." He said, "Start coming to my groups." Right? I started going to his groups. And the issue was, I was still living in that trap house, even though I wasn't technically using, but I was still in an abusive relationship. I was still not sharing in groups because I wasn't ready to be transparent, all of that. And then finally, the abuse got a lot to where he was like, "Oh no, you coming out of there. You need to go in transitional housing." Problem is, transitional houses don't take you on Suboxone.
They don't. They do not.
So that was the point that the light bulb went off. That I need to do something different. And I mustered up all of that will that I've always had, that strength. And I went to Team Wellness, and I told them, I said, "I'm ready to start to get off of the Suboxone so I can enter into 3/4 house." And I was told, "You do not want to do that. That's dangerous." And I looked, and I was really discouraged from stopping. So no problem. Me being me, I got my last script, and I weaned myself off. I had one script, and I took half of that, next day half of the half, and so on. And the last 2 days I was very sick, but I knew I wasn't going to die from the withdrawals. See, I started to learn about what was going on. And I started to learn about withdrawals and the process. I started to really learn. And I actually asked my mom if I could stay at the house for the last 2 days. And her, my son, and my daughter, they really helped me, get through that. And then that was when I was able to go to a really nice 3/4 house at East Point. And I was told that I couldn't see my boyfriend anymore. And of course, you know us, right? We're going to do, because I'm clean now and I'm making better decisions. And I decide I still want to be with him. I'm just not going to use. And I was, for a year, I was clean. I started working at Share Macomb, right? And everybody loved me. Everything was going really well. I stopped going to meetings because I've arrived. I'm working as a monitor at a treatment center. You can't get more recovery than that. I stopped talking to my sponsor, all of that. Stopped going to groups because I was too busy. I had a job, George. I'm busy. Okay. Well, I'll never forget, I snuck over to my boyfriend's house. I wasn't supposed to be over there, but I snuck, and he was supposed to be clean too. He left for a little bit to go pick up somebody, came back, and started 9. And I remember thinking, "You high." Next thing you know, he dropped his juice bottle and he started convulsing and everything. He died right in my lap. And I had Narcan, I had a phone to call the police. I did neither. And I left him in the house. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna call him in a couple of days and cuss him out and everything. Well, when I called, of course, he didn't answer, and I had them do a welfare check. And of course, they found him where I left him, and that relapse just the one night, because I didn't. First of all, I didn't reach out to anybody. Right? It was so many things, and I wasn't going to meet, so I wasn't in that habit of doing the meetings or reaching out to your sponsors. So, but I did call Team Wellness. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go see my therapist." I'll never forget. She said, "I can see you." She said, but when you get here, you're going to be waiting about 30 minutes because I'm squeezing you in, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mind was, oh, I'm just going to go get a pack real quick so I can calm
Mm-hmm.
my nerves. That turned into a whole night, me getting robbed, raped, beat, overdosing for the 7th time.
Stop.
Yes.
What do you mean the 7th time? What
I've
does it?
overdosed throughout my whole using career 7 times. That was the 7th time.
Okay, so let's be clear here,
Mhm.
ladies and gentlemen, or whoever else is watching. Overdosing, you die,
Yes. And by the grace of God,
wakes you back up.
yes.
People don't understand that.
And I love how you said that because that's exactly
You die.
what I say.
You die.
Yes.
Hands down, you die.
Period.
You dead.
That's it.
And somebody, someone,
We know
whoever you tend to believe on,
Mhm.
Allah, whoever you want to call him, I like to call him my Lord and Savior, will wake you back up if you have a purpose here, if you're meant to be here, if you're meant to do something different. So she died 7 times and was woken back up by her higher power. Okay,
Yes.
so I want to be clear on that because a lot of people get that twisted. Oh, I just OD. No, you died.
No, you died.
You died, boo boo.
Mhm.
You don't know you just
Mhm.
died,
Mhm.
and they take it lightly. And the thing is, there's not enough studies to show what's really happening to your body when it lacks oxygen. We don't have enough studies to say what's going to happen down the long term with your health because you don't OD.
And I wanna say this, because I am truly blessed. I do know of a person that overdosed and was not revived in time and was left brain dead. And this was a young lady who was very intelligent, extremely intelligent, and just, spoke so well. And now she can barely speak clearly and formulate sentences, right? So I definitely understand, like you said, there's purpose there. There's purpose there. So it's like, and I love that you said that because where I stand right now is how can I not do what I do right now? What I do right now and Lord knows that we don't make a whole lot of money.
Mm-mm. No.
Right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And with my professional skill sets that I've developed, I could be working at corporate America. I mean, I probably could even be at Chrysler banging them cars out, making good money. However, that's not where I'm supposed to be. You know how? Because I tried that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how many times I've tried to leave this because I'm like, I need some money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working, it wasn't Chrysler, but it was a plant that was making parts for the big three. And I look up, people always coming to me. I don't have time to make quota. I'm trying to eat lunch and people like, oh, so and so said you talked to her. Look, my daughter, I went to my son, I call him my life coach. I said, son, I'm getting her. He said, Ma, you found your purpose.
Mm.
He said, we gonna be all right. He said, we gonna be all right. He said, go do what you do. He said, figure out how to make money at it. That's what I started my nonprofit.
Okay.
Right?
What's the name of your nonprofit?
Clean Recovery.
Okay.
It stands for Clean Living Environment is absolutely necessary for recovery. And it's sober living communities. I don't say sober living housing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's community. I create communities. Okay? By partnering with different sober living housing. Okay? I believe in collaboration.
Mm.
Period. Okay? And I eventually it is part of my plan, to have a location where all different sober living houses can come together, almost like, are you familiar with the mental health, the different clubhouses they have?
The clubhouses,
where
yes.
if you have a group home,
Mm-hmm.
you can bring them there, they can shoot pool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a recreation
they
time.
Can do activities
Socialization,
together,
access,
and that's building their
resources.
skills up too.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, that's what we need, because I remember when I came into Detroit Recovery Project, let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
I first came for the dances. Okay?
Okay.
I'm just going to be
Yeah,
real.
I love it.
If it wasn't for those dances, I probably would not have really started connected to the meetings. And I'm going to be honest, those dances were what kept me coming back around those people. And because I was around those people led me to those meetings.
Okay.
See, I didn't want to go to meetings. I wanted to have fun. And that was good. But then those people that were at those dances that I was having fun, they started to slowly point me toward the meetings.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The meetings. When you say meetings, what meetings are you speaking of?
Oh, Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay. Now, for someone who say, nah, the meetings ain't good for me. I can't make meetings. That's not my pathway, right?
Okay.
What would you say to them? Matter of fact, nothing that you could say, because that's not their pathway. There's multiple pathways to recovery, right? Mm-hmm. Explain what NA is and how it sustains your recovery. Explain that. Because they go in, before you explain it, people go in and be like, only thing they doing is just sharing. I can go somewhere else and listen. I can listen to my own thoughts. I don't want to have to listen to other people's problems. Explain that to me.
Oh, man. Well, for me, initially, I'm going to agree with them. I came in, first of all, and don't get me wrong, it was some strong-willed sister. I was like, hold on, I don't like the way she talking to me. Mm-hmm. I don't like her attitude. Or I see somebody, I knew her from the streets. Oh, now you want to look. Oh, yeah, I had that. But this was what made the difference. I had my recovery coach, which is why I encourage people to get a recovery coach. He let me know, okay, no problem. You don't like, all right. Well, you know what? Keep coming anyway. And I'm going to tell you, what I loved was the strength, because when people would come at me sideways, you know, he would let me know, you know, it's okay, because he or she is coming with love. As a matter of fact, come to their open talk and hear their story. Well, when I started going to the open talks, I started hearing people's stories. I started to understand.
Explain to someone who does not know, what is an open talk in NA?
An open talk is when people openly share their experience, strength, and hope. So it's not just about sharing for the 5 or 10 minutes at a meeting. It's literally sharing the experience, the strength, and the hope. Okay, so you really get to hear what people went through, what led them there, and how they found a way out. And usually it was through the 12 steps. And I want to say that because I kept being encouraged to get a sponsor, and it was so hard for me. I don't trust women. I didn't trust women because of how I was raised first. I was the first girl born in my family in 21 years. I was around boys and men up until my daughter was the second girl 26 years later. I didn't like women. And in NA, it's women for women. I went old school NA, so that's women for women, men for men. And I was encouraged to get a woman sponsor. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is that I would pick these sponsors that I could overrule. So that never goes well. And my recovery coach encouraged me when I had the relapse. Mm-hmm. I never forget, because he was the one that pulled me out the house. He came and got me. Mm. And my mom had put me out again by that time. And I'll never forget him and his wife at the time. Mm-hmm. I was in their living room. Mm. And he looked at me when I sobered up a little bit. He said, and the only thing he asked me, was you ready to do something different? I said, yeah. And he had the one woman that scared the living crap out of me. Why would you bring her? He said, that's who you need to make your sponsor. And I did, because at that point I was just ready to at that point I had been broken down so much. If they would have told me to turn around in circles, jump up and down and quack like a duck,
come on,
I would have did it.
Come on.
So even though I was shaking in my boots, because she the teeniest tiny lady you'll ever meet, but her personality is that of just a big, strong woman.
A lion.
Mm-hmm. And she became my sponsor, and she really thoroughly introduced me to the 12 steps. And I started to do the step work. That right there.
Stop.
Yes.
What is step work?
Oh, man. The 12 steps, doing the step, what I say step work for me, the 12 steps, that blue book, the NA book that we have, that was literally a blueprint for how to live for me. Okay. And I'm going to be honest. I was raised with an agnostic father and a half Baptist mom, for lack of better terms. And my father's a historian. So I was raised with Egyptology and African history. So spirituality was more spirituality, more so than religion.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I understand that people would always try to tell me like, oh, the Bible. Okay, but at the time, I could not relate to that.
Right.
But that blue book,
Mm-hmm.
that was my Bible, for lack of better terms.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I went to. And then I read, it told me what I need. Who's an addict? Oh, I'm an addict. I mean, everything was right there for me.
It speaks your language.
All my questions,
Mm-hmm.
literally, all of my questions that I had since that adolescent with those mental health issues were answered. And I had somebody to help guide me through it to really make me go deeper, right? And I'm going to tell you something. When I got to that fourth step, that inventory step,
that's a bad do.
That right there changed so much. I went from, I thought I was a woman. No, that's when I transitioned from being that young lady to that woman. Okay. And I learned a concept that's foreign to many people out there. Keep up with me, y'all. Y'all might not have heard this word before. Forgiveness.
You better help somebody. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Because if you're talking about, let me tell you, when I was told, if you want to learn to love your son, you have to forgive his father. Because what I didn't tell y'all, for years, I abused my son. Not directly because he looked like his father, but indirectly. And I was told, if you want to learn, now mind you, my son has always excelled at school, exceptional young man. And as an adult, he's doing extremely big things. Now, so he, but why couldn't I fully love him like I love my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
And when I was told that, it took me on a whole journey. And mind you, this was between year 1, 2017, to year 3 that I'm working on this, right? Okay. So they happened overnight, y'all. But when I tell you I did the work because I had a team around me. And I want to say this. And I'm going to say that I say this a lot because George, he definitely played a big part. He did what therapists would not do. They wanted to address the drugs and the alcohol. They didn't want to address the trauma because it was
trauma informed, baby. Trauma informed.
Check this out. I was at group one time and he saw that I kept tiptoeing over it, but he knew I had started doing the work. So I know that he felt comfortable with saying. So one day we in group and he said, "Are you ready to share?" I said, "No, I don't know them. I don't want them in my business." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Why don't you talk about the first night you was put on the street? How many men raped you?" Oh man, I started yelling HIPAA. Y'all know we know a few laws, right?
Yeah, right.
We do. I started yelling HIPAA. How dare you? I started going off. He looked at me. He said, "Go ahead and throw your temper tantrum." He said, "We go call the ambulance. They gonna come, take you to the hospital, make you better, and bring you back. And I'm gonna ask you the same question because you about to work through some stuff." He didn't say stuff, but we got to keep it light on here. Okay, but he had the men leave the room and had the women embrace me. That was the start of me crying and purging. Okay. And then that mixed with going to my sponsor, mixed with my therapist still, right? Because I'm gonna tell you, you need a team.
Mm-hmm.
I had a recovery coach, I had a therapist, I had a sponsor, I had a spiritual team, I had friends that found a way out that I could call to support me. And through that, I really started to heal. And I could tell you, when I finally reached that point where I wasn't just saying, yeah, okay, I forgive them. She poured into me spiritually for 3 days. And it's like she knew exactly what I needed to finalize that that what I needed to really cross over into true forgiveness, where I forgave on the inside, not just outwardly. Because see, outwardly we can say, "Oh, I forgive you," but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really did. I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was once that happened, it was like I was renewed. Okay, and that right there, I just started after that. Man, I started just taking off with just any workshop I would see, any extras, like anything recovery related. You know, I was going after, because for I hungered for this journey of recovery. I started to fall in love with it,
Mm.
and fall in love with that. Then I started to fall in love with me, and here I am. Here I am now, 7 going on 8 years later, and it's been, because like I've had my locks for 4 years, and I just feel so full. I feel so full, and even through my change, right? Not because I made my son, well, you should forgive me because I'm doing good now. Or my daughter, you should listen to me even though I haven't been present. How dare you say no to me, right? No, I just allow my change. Or how about when I got to go to a meeting, but my daughter got something she wanted to do, right? And tried to make me feel bad and say, but you was there, right? But I said, I need to do this for me. I had to get a little selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some anger. I got called, you selfish, everything else. I kept doing me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a time that my son said, you would never be invited to my wedding. You would never see your grandkids. Well, I'm here to tell you, because I chose me,
Mm-hmm.
my son got married in Cancun last year, and I had front row center. Okay? So not because I forced him, and I have a 17-year-old daughter, and guess what? She don't have no drug problem, and guess what? I do step work with her.
Mm.
Because that book is not about drugs.
It's not about drugs. You better tell somebody.
It's about life.
That's right.
And do you know, the first time I caught her sneaking reading my book, she thought she was doing something wrong. I went in her room. I seen her hide something under a pillow. I went to go see what it was. It was that book. I said, honey, you do not have to hide that.
Right.
And I got her own. And then after that, I started getting her to Just for Today. Everything else, this is free read.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
So that's that right there. I mean, I think I'm back now. I'm back at step 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I started working with some new people, right? And I was like, okay, and I was like, you know what? Because step 2, that higher power, that was always. Do you know that was such a hard step for me?
The higher power.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
You got you. I tell people all the time that even this is a constant.
Oh yeah, it's not just
because things will come back up. Things
every
will
day.
come back up.
Every day.
Even once you feel like you've healed or you feel like you forget, it'll come back up.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I know,
mm-hmm.
when God sees fit
mm-hmm.
for it to come back up, it's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You got you.
He's still peeling back the layers.
Oh, man.
He hasn't reached fully in. So that's why we're onion. And all he's doing is peeling us back. When he see fit, when we're ready to be peeled back. Right? So let me ask you this. You said a lot. I'm impressed. I'm over here cheering you on in my head like, wow. No, I'm so serious, and I can't. If anybody know who I am, I'm just a happy person, and man, if I'm gonna show you, I'm happy. But I'm just like your courage, yeah, it's overwhelming. Like in my mind, like so many people who has a similar story to you do not make it, right? I would like you to share where are you at now? Like, what is your? You already told us where you was at, how you got there, how you went back, and then you came back. How you had an awakening. Where you at, Erica? Like today, where are you at?
So today, I'm gonna keep it real simple. I am at peace. Now, do I have a? I'm gonna be transparent because I'm transparent. Okay.
Come on.
So today, right now, yes, I still live with my parents, and I drive. I call it my Bentley. It just has a Chevy Cruze emblem on it. Okay. And guess what, y'all? I'm so happy and excited. You know why? Because I am blessed and fortunate enough to live with both my parents who are still married, and all the help that they've offered, that they have given me and my children, I'm able to help them now in their time of need. Now that they are older, also too, I'm a single mom. So how great is it that I'm able to raise my daughter in a household of stability, right? So where at first I was like, oh, I still, I would tell people, be like, you still live with your parents? And at first it'd be like, yeah. Or I would even lie. I used to lie. They know I got my own apartment. Today, because I'm at that place of peace and acceptance, I understand the blessing in that. And you want to know about that Bentley I got, y'all? Let me tell you something. First car I bought, first car I bought and was able to finance after 2 years clean. And let me tell you something. When I picked up that car off the lot, you would have thought that bad boy had 14 karat gold reels the way I drove off that lot. And you would have thought that sound system was banging all the way from east to west.
My
and
girl.
What? Still to this day. Okay. So listen, it was so funny because my daughter being 17, she was like, Ma, she was like, because she getting her about to get her license, she said, do I have to get the Cruze, or can I get another car? I said, girl, you ain't getting that. I said, girl, that's my car. I said, no, don't worry about it. I knew she had a sigh of relief, but she understood where I was coming from. She was like, yeah. She was like, because I really wanted it. I said, I know you did, but you ain't getting this one.
I know that.
Because I'm just, and that's how I live life, y'all. That's how I live life today. I'm very positive. I used to walk down the street and I could tell you everything negative about that street. Now you can literally tell me, girl, you ain't see that abandoned house you just walked past. I didn't see it. Because all I saw was the beauty that I had to look forward to. That's how I navigate through life today. And because of it, I have such a peace within me no matter where I am.
Well said. What would you say to someone? And we're wrapping up.
Okay.
This will be our conclusion. What would you say to someone who has a similar journey as yours, who may have been clean for a couple of months and still trying to find their way? What would you say to them?
Give yourself a chance. There's a spiritual aspect to this, but there's also a scientific reason why you may not quite feel after 60 days or 90 days like what's going on, because you have to give it time to really get out of your body. Give yourself a chance, right? And just put that team around you. Make sure you have that team. And remember that there's always hope. And make sure the people that are on your team are reminding you of that hope. And anybody that is discouraging you or making you feel less than, remove them. Pull those weeds from your garden and replace those weeds with beautiful, beautiful plants because they're out here. There are so many wonderful people that want to help and support you. You just have to find them. So that's the thing. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope and give yourself a chance because it's possible. Because I'm going to say this in conclusion, right? And I know this cliche, but if I could do it with my too smart self that thought I knew everything, you know, if I could do it, you definitely can do it. And it's a whole bunch of us that's going to be right here willing to help you along your journey. You just have to reach out.
There you go. There you have it. Erica, you did a great job. Thank you um, for being vulnerable. Courageous. You ain't hold us up.
No.
No, you really didn't. I was back here like, whoa, okay. If anybody's suffering with substance use disorder or know anyone who suffers with substance use disorder, in the comment section, I will have Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network phone number, which is the access number. You can give them a call. Also, if it's okay with you, I'm going to drop your information down, which
Absolutely.
is your email address. Also, I'm going to drop my email. So this podcast is hosted by Journee Continues Women's Specialty Services. And through our advocacy efforts for the community, we host Journee Continues Podcast. So with that being said, until next time, family, real voices, real recovery.
Yeah.
We're going to keep coming. Have a good night.
Good night.